Chosen one, something is shifting not in the noise, but in the stillness, and only those who are spiritually awake will recognize it. Right now, as the world rushes forward, distracted by speed, headlines, and constant motion, heaven is moving quietly, deliberately, not with fanfare, not with signs meant to impress the eyes, but with divine precision that speaks directly to the soul. And this is not only a moment to notice, it is a moment to steward. Because when heaven moves quietly, it is often because something holy is being entrusted, not merely announced. If your spirit feels an unexplainable weight in this moment, an invisible pressure settling on your chest, do not dismiss it. This is not anxiety, it is alignment. You are not here by accident. No algorithm summoned you. No coincidence led you here. The Spirit of God did. Because what is unfolding at the close of January is not random. This is not merely the end of a month. It is the closing of a spiritual cycle, and you are standing in the center of it. And let this question meet you honestly. What has changed inside you so deeply that you cannot return to the old pace without feeling the cost? Scripture reminds us in 1 Kings 19:12 that the voice of God was not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a still, gentle whisper. That same stillness is resting upon you now, not as emptiness, not as absence, but as invitation, a holy silence that carries direction. If your heart stirred before your mind could explain why, it is because heaven has already whispered what your spirit was prepared to hear. You were chosen for this moment. And if you have been weary, praying, waiting, holding yourself together, hear this with pastoral clarity. Weariness is not a verdict. It is often the evidence that you have carried something real for a long time. Here is the truth rarely spoken aloud. God does not compete with chaos. He waits for hearts willing to quiet themselves and lean in. This final repositioning has already begun. And ignoring it will not simply delay destiny, it risks disconnecting from it. This is not a passive season. This is not a time to drift. This is a season where obedience will feel quieter than your emotions, but heavier than your excuses. So, take this moment seriously. Still your heart, quiet your thoughts. Heaven is speaking now, not through noise, but through presence. Guard what you carry. Guard what you repeat. Guard what you rush. The call of God is not fragile, but your focus can be. As you step forward into this divine alignment at the close of this month, declare your readiness. Type Amen in the comments as an act of faith, a visible response to an invisible calling. And stay with this message until the very end, because it will close with a powerful prayer prepared for today, not to entertain you, but to anchor you, not to excite you, but to align you. This is not just another message. This is recognition. This is alignment. Let us begin. Chosen one, you were never overlooked. You were being observed. At the moment when others were being invited into rooms you prayed for, you were not forgotten. You were being formed. When the door did not open, it was not a punishment, it was a pause from heaven, a sacred delay where the silence of God echoed louder than applause. Understand this, preparation is not rejection, it's construction, and construction sites are rarely beautiful. They're noisy, messy, incomplete. But only those trusted with longevity are built with such care. You were not called to arrive quickly, you were called to last eternally. At the end of this January, many are looking for signs of breakthrough, a harvest, a climax. But heaven speaks differently. This is not your season of public reward, it is your permanent appointment in the unseen. While others count visible wins, you are being given something they cannot see, authority forged in private surrender. The pain, the delay, the loss, they are not punishments. They are placement tools in the hand of the Most High. You weren't being paused, you were being precision timed. For what is unseen today must be anchored enough to carry what will be revealed tomorrow. Some of you feel as though you've been walking in circles, passed over, unheard. Yet when God leads through the long way, it is not waste, it is protection. Consider Israel in Exodus 13. In Deuteronomy 8:2, God explains, He led His people through the wilderness to test and reveal what was in their hearts. Why? Because they were not yet ready for war. The wilderness was not a delay, it was a detour meant to develop strength. Chosen ones are not spared from pressure, they are hand-picked for it. And this pressure is not random, it is personal. When you were crushed while others celebrated, it was not proof that you were less, it was proof that your assignment was more. Greater weight requires deeper roots. This is why, when others graduate from their trials, yours seem to multiply. Because your foundation must carry more than applause, it must carry glory. Early arrivals may get attention, but only oil-scarred ones carry authority. Arrival is not the same as appointment. Some stepped into rooms quickly, but without oil. Heaven didn't delay you, it distilled you. There is a difference between being seen and being sent. Now listen carefully. When you were not invited into that room, it was not rejection, it was redirection. For the Most High did not create you to wait outside someone else's table. You were being trained to build a new one. Not only will you enter, but you will carry the keys. You were not set apart to be a guest. You were marked as the foundation of new spiritual ground. Even the people who left you, those who dismissed you, forgot you, misread your calling, were part of the plan. Their exit was necessary. Because what comes next is not built on convenience, but on covenant. And heaven cannot allow divine destiny to be yoked with relationships based on transaction. Their departure was not your loss. It was your leveling up. Remember Gideon, when he prepared to battle Midian in Judges 7, he began with thousands, yet God reduced his army to just 300. Why? Because victory built on numbers leads to pride. But victory built on obedience glorifies God. Remember Jonathan and his armor-bearer in 1 Samuel 14. Two people stepped forward by faith, and heaven amplified their courage into victory. So if you're wondering why it's been so quiet, so heavy, it's because this is holy ground. God does his deepest work in hidden places. Even Jesus, before he began his ministry, was led into the wilderness by the Spirit, not by mistake, not by sin, but by design. And there, in isolation, he faced temptation, hunger, and silence. Yet it was there that he defeated the enemy, not in public, but in private, because public authority requires private victory. And chosen ones are forged in places no one claps for. By the end of January, you may not see a finish line, and that's because you're not crossing one. You're stepping into a permanent appointment. The process will not stop here, but it will make sense here. Not because the pain vanishes, but because perspective is restored. What once looked like rejection now reads as redirection. What felt like isolation now reveals divine insulation, a sacred hiding, not to harm you, but to hold you in safety until the right time. The Most High does not rush masterpieces, and you, chosen one, are not on a human timeline. You are not late, you are not missing out, you are being shaped for a door that hasn't been built yet. And here is what you must do next. Look back, not to grieve, but to gather. Take 3 moments that once looked like failure. Write them down, then ask, what in me was shaped because of that? Because nothing is wasted in the hands of the Creator. Not a tear, not a betrayal, not a single closed door. Then, before you respond to the next delay or disappointment, pause, pray. Because what feels like pain may actually be placement. what looks like rejection may be refinement. Not everything that wounds you is working against you. Sometimes it's God realigning you not to hurt you, but to prepare you for a responsibility your prayers didn't see coming. This is not the end of your story. It's the part where the blueprint starts to make sense. And you'll see, you weren't discarded, you were embedded in sacred soil for a future bloom. You've been waiting, you've been watching, you've prayed the same prayer 100 different ways. You've asked for clarity, for confirmation, for a sign that it's time. But hear this now, heaven has already decided. The waiting room is closed. God didn't cancel the promise, He concealed it until you were ready. You are not behind, you are not confused. You are standing in the center of a divine alignment where your obedience meets God's appointed moment. No more waiting, no more second guessing, no more wondering if you're ready. The weight of the final battle you just came through, the weariness, the intensity, the pressure, wasn't a sign you missed something, it was proof that you passed the test. Some of you thought that fatigue meant failure. But fatigue is not the end, it's the evidence that the old self has cracked. That the layers which once covered your faith, your voice, your courage have been stripped. Heaven doesn't require perfection, it requires surrender. And surrender, chosen one, is loud in the spirit, even when it's silent on the surface. You've been through storms that no one saw, fought enemies that had no names, and yet you're still standing. Not because you were the strongest, but because you stayed when it was easier to walk away. You praised when it made no sense. You served without applause. You believed even when your prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling. And now, something is shifting quietly, but unmistakably. There's a kind of breakthrough that doesn't show up with fireworks. It arrives like a whisper, like a door that suddenly opens without noise, like a weight that lifts, though nothing in the natural has changed. This is spiritual alignment. The war in the invisible has turned. And even if your circumstances look the same, the atmosphere has changed. The Most High is not waiting for another request, He is waiting for your response. This is not the season to ask again, God, is it time? This is the season to move like you know the answer is yes. Faith is not asking for more confirmation. Faith walks forward even when clarity is still catching up. In the book of 2 Kings, chapter 7, 4 lepers stood outside the city gates, caught between famine and fear. They could have stayed paralyzed by uncertainty, but instead they said, "Why sit here until we die?" And as they began to move, God caused the enemy's army to flee, not because the lepers were strong, but because their faith triggered a divine ambush. What if your next step is the sound heaven's been waiting to amplify? You've been qualified in silence. Every time you endured without understanding why. Every moment you stayed faithful without results. Every tear you cried without recognition. All of it counted. The unseen sacrifices were seen, the private surrenders were recorded, and now the release is not based on applause, it's based on alignment. There are no more enemies left to disqualify you. The silent opponent's envy, sabotage, spiritual warfare, cloaked in smiles, they were the reason heaven held the release. Because what's coming to you must be protected. You were not being punished, you were being preserved. Not everything that looks like delay is denial. Sometimes God slows the blessing to outpace the attack. And here is the divine twist. Heaven was never preparing the blessing for you, it was preparing you for the blessing. Because if it had come too soon, you might have handed it to someone who didn't honor it. If the door had opened before your discernment was sharpened, you might have trusted the wrong voice. If the platform arrived before the process finished, you might have used it to prove something instead of serving someone. But not anymore. You're not operating from insecurity, you're moving from identity. The old you would have begged for permission. The new you carries divine authorization. And now, chosen one, the question is not, why is it taking so long? Heaven is asking, now that the time has come, are you ready to walk in it? Do you remember when Samuel went to anoint David in 1 Samuel 16? All the brothers passed before him, strong, tall, impressive, but none of them were chosen. Joseph was overlooked, sold, forgotten, but in one day God called him out of prison to fulfill the dream no one else saw coming, and you are the threshold. Let's make it plain. When your spirit starts to stir with discomfort, it's often because your environment no longer fits your assignment. You're carrying revelation for a place you haven't entered yet. You're being prepared to hold space in rooms that haven't been built yet. You're hearing frequencies others can't perceive, and yes, that can make you feel alone. But you are not alone. You are being set apart. This is why, in this season, you felt distant from people you still love. Not because something is wrong with them, but because something is awakening in you. Purpose has a sound, and once your soul hears it, the noise of the world can no longer satisfy. You're not antisocial, you're being recalibrated. You're not losing connection, you're being connected to something deeper. Esther knew this feeling. Before she stepped into her royal assignment, she went through months of preparation in silence, behind the palace walls, out of sight. She wasn't isolated. She was being aligned, not just with her title, but with her timing. And when the time came, she didn't need to explain herself. Her presence was the answer. Likewise, you are not required to explain this season to everyone around you. Some will not understand. That's all right. Revelation is rarely recognized until it's revealed. The Most High is teaching you how to build in the quiet, how to carry the weight of your next without the approval of your past. Because what's coming cannot be crowd approved, it must be heaven led. And this disconnection you feel from your old dreams, it's not because you failed, it's because you've outgrown them. Heaven is reassigning your focus. This is the danger. When chosen ones confuse awakening with collapse, they self-sabotage the very season they were created for. But look again. The irritability is not emotional immaturity, it's spiritual sensitivity. The restlessness is not rebellion, it's a holy warning that you're too close to destiny to settle for survival. Don't reach for the comfort of the past just because the future feels unfamiliar. When Elijah hid in the cave in 1 Kings 19, exhausted and disoriented, he expected God to speak through fire, earthquake, and wind. But instead, the voice of God came in a whisper that could only be heard after Elijah had separated from the noise. Sometimes, God has to remove you from the rhythm of the crowd to tune your ear to the frequency of heaven. That's what this season is, a holy tuning, a sacred disruption. You're not malfunctioning, you're maturing. You've been waking up at odd hours of the night, suddenly crying without knowing why, losing interest in things that used to motivate you. These are not coincidences. They are birthing pains, the ache of your old self being unseated, so your true assignment can take root. Those who feel the most shaken right now are often the closest to divine release. When a rocket launches into new atmosphere, it has to shed everything that cannot survive the next elevation. That's what's happening to you. Old relationships, expired thought patterns, habits you once justified, they can't come where you're going. This is why you've been feeling pulled away from the familiar, not as punishment, but as preparation, not because you're being left behind, but because you're being lifted higher. Heaven is not just giving you a new door, heaven is making you into a door, a place where others will find rest, instruction, healing, and clarity. But to become that, to carry that kind of weight, you must be willing to be misunderstood for a season. This is not the time to explain, it's the time to build, quietly, deeply, consistently. The ones who feel most lost right now are not broken. They're on the verge of becoming unshakable. And the silence? It's not abandonment, it's divine intimacy. Sometimes God stops speaking externally so you can rediscover his voice internally. So here is the word: stop chasing confirmation. Start creating alignment. The time for outside validation is over. Heaven has already validated you. And that's why everything else has started to feel out of sync, because you were never called to fit, you were called to lead. Give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling, and then step back far enough to see it clearly. This isn't failure, this is formation. You are shedding skin that no longer fits. You are awakening. And with that awakening comes responsibility. Begin each day with 15 minutes of stillness, not to ask for more signs, but to become aware again of what God has already placed in you. Stillness is where God's blueprints unfold in whispers. It is where new architecture is revealed. It is where noise gives way to knowing. And in that silence, you'll remember, you were never falling apart. You were being called higher. If it's been quiet lately, painfully quiet, you're not abandoned. You're being trusted. Not everyone is trusted with silence. Not everyone can carry a season without answers, without signs, without applause. But chosen one, if you're in a space where the heavens seem still, it's not because heaven is ignoring you, it's because heaven has already decided. Silence isn't delay, it's divine transition in disguise. In moments of silence, your enemies don't win. Your destiny doesn't vanish. What's been promised doesn't expire. The only thing at risk is your posture. Because the enemy can't undo what heaven has declared, but he can tempt you to forfeit it through reasonable doubt. And right now, the battle isn't for your faith, it's for your endurance. There is a maturity that only comes when results disappear, but trust remains. When momentum pauses, but your devotion doesn't. The silence isn't meant to break you. It's meant to reveal what still controls you. When the noise stops, your heart gets loud with questions, expectations, impatience. This is the true battleground. The Most High is not late. He's precise. He does not operate on pressure. He operates on pattern. And when silence surrounds you, it's often because you're being calibrated to match the rhythm of a higher assignment. Heaven's trust sounds like quiet. Think about Zechariah in Luke 1. He was a priest, faithful, disciplined, obedient. Yet when the angel told him that his prayers for a son had been answered, his response was doubt. Not rebellion, just logic. How can this be? I'm old. And what did heaven do? It didn't punish him, it silenced him. For the entire pregnancy of John the Baptist, Zechariah was mute, not out of judgment, but out of protection. Because sometimes, in divine transitions, the wrong words can delay a miracle. Heaven would rather silence you than let you speak death over your own promise. So, if you feel like your voice has been stripped, if you feel like your clarity has gone quiet, maybe it's not rejection. Maybe it's refinement. Maybe heaven knows the weight of what you're carrying, and silence is its way of shielding it from being tampered with by anxiety, overthinking, or casual conversation. You are carrying something too holy to be handled loosely. But silence requires skill. Because without results, we tend to measure our progress by the wrong metrics. How much we feel, how fast things move, who notices us. Yet, in these silent seasons, you're not called to measure, you're called to maintain. Hold posture, stay faithful, keep building. Not because it's easy, but because you've come too far to reset the alignment now. Yes, that's the danger, resetting divine alignment. You've been hidden, pruned, broken, rebuilt, all in sync with heaven's schedule. But to quit now To fall back into old patterns, to disconnect because it's quiet, would mean restarting the synchronization process from the beginning. And let's be honest, it's not that you don't believe anymore, it's that silence has worn your soul thin. But here's the truth. You are not empty, you are in transfer. Just because nothing visible is moving doesn't mean nothing is happening. Silence is often the space between decision and delivery, and during that space, your spiritual sensitivity must take over. What can't be heard by ear must be discerned by spirit. Some of the most mature moments of your journey won't come with goosebumps, they'll come with stillness, with nothing but a decision to believe, again, without proof. This is spiritual adulthood. Think about the widow in 1 Kings 17. In a time of drought and famine, the prophet Elijah asked her for a piece of bread. She had only enough flour and oil for one final meal. No sign, no confirmation. Just a word, "Make it for me first, and your jar will not run dry." She obeyed, and the silence between the request and the provision could have been fatal, but her posture sustained the promise. You see, breakthrough doesn't always knock. Sometimes it waits for you to hold your position long enough for it to find you still in place. And heaven sees that posture. The Most High sees that you didn't quit when it got quiet, that you kept praying when the heavens stopped responding, that you kept walking when your heart was limping. That's not failure, that's authority. That's why this silence is holy, because it's not absence, it's assignment. You're learning to pick up divine signals without spoken instruction. Because heaven's goal is not to make you feel good, it's to make you unshakable. And there are levels of destiny that require spiritual hearing more than physical confirmation, where your steps are guided not by prophecy, but by the Spirit's whisper. So, if everything around you feels too still, too quiet, too vague, don't panic. And in this stillness, you're being trained to hear what others miss. You're being handed access to levels that cannot be seen, only sensed. Your frustration is not a sign to turn back, it's a sign you're on the threshold. Don't let the silence make you walk away from the signal. Take this moment as proof that heaven considers you trustworthy enough to walk without needing constant reminders. Because the greater the mission, the quieter the command. And when the silence finally breaks, it will not come as explanation. It will come as release, not gradual, not negotiated, sudden, complete, and irreversible. But until then, stay aligned, stay aware, and most of all, stay faithful in the quiet, because what seems still is often where the most sacred recalibration happens. What if the wait was never about the timing, but about the wait? What if you're not being delayed, but developed? Not being ignored, but intentionally prepared? There's a difference between being stuck and being structured, between being overlooked and being under construction by divine design. Chosen one, the reason it's been slow, the reason it's been quiet, the reason it's been costly, is because heaven is building something in you that will outlive you. This isn't just about a breakthrough for this season. This is about building something that will hold through every season. You're not just being prepared for a moment, you're being formed for a mantle. And mantles take time. Legacy takes depth. You cannot microwave spiritual infrastructure. You build it brick by brick, obedience by obedience. Every delay has been a blueprint. Every disappointment, a measurement. Every heartbreak, a deepening of the foundation. You're not late, you're layered. Layered with wisdom, resilience, discernment, the kind of qualities that don't show up on stage, but sustain what happens behind it. Heaven doesn't build on hype, it builds on history. And your history with God has not gone unnoticed. Every silent, yes, every hidden surrender, every tear that hit your pillow when no one knew you were struggling, these are sacred materials in the construction of a spiritual legacy. Think about David. He was anointed king as a teenager, but didn't take the throne for years. Why? Because God wasn't just preparing him to wear a crown, he was preparing him to carry a lineage. The line of the Messiah would come through David, and legacy like that can't be rushed. It must be tested, proven, deepened. So, what if what you've interpreted as delay is actually depth? You haven't been passed over, you've been pulled deeper. Not because you're not ready for promotion, but because you're too valuable to expose prematurely. Some assignments must be hidden until the foundation is solid enough to hold the glory. You don't put a roof on a house with a cracked foundation, and heaven will not elevate what hasn't been made weight-bearing. That's not punishment, that's protection. Every person who walked away, every connection that fell apart, every almost that didn't happen, has been part of the excavation, not to destroy you, but to clear the space for a structure that can last. When people exit, don't just grieve, ask what was being removed. Some exits are spiritual architecture, because when the Most High builds legacy, he's not just thinking about your name, he's thinking about those who come after it. That's why some of the prayers you've prayed have gone unanswered, not because they were unworthy, but because they were too small. You were asking for relief. Heaven was building resilience. You were asking for harvest. Heaven was building heritage. And you don't see legacy on the surface, you see it in the layers. Every time you forgave without closure, every time you chose silence instead of defending yourself, every time you stayed faithful even when no one said thank you. You were adding bricks to an invisible structure, not for validation, not for status, but for something unshakable, a spiritual house, not built with hands, but with decisions made in obedience. That's why you can't compare your pace to those around you. You're not building for applause, you're building for endurance. Some are building for moments. You're being built for generations. And that kind of construction is slow, intentional, sometimes lonely. But when it's finished, it will outlast every trend, every season, every shift. By the end of January, others may be measuring results. You'll be carrying a structure, something that will not break under pressure because it was forged in it. But here's what you need to understand. When God is building legacy through you, he's not just watching what you can do, he's watching what you can carry. And what you carry when no one's watching is what qualifies you when everyone is. There's a reason your name isn't on certain lists, a reason your platform hasn't expanded yet, a reason some things are still in the works, because heaven is not rushing this. Heaven knows what's at stake. And when legacy is the assignment, God doesn't just look at your gift, he looks at your grip. Can you hold on when no one's clapping? Can you stay grounded when others rise faster? Can you be faithful in the blueprint season, the quiet construction where nothing posts well, but everything matters? If so, then know this: you are not being delayed. You're being built to last. Because what you're carrying isn't fragile, it isn't trendy, it isn't built on hype or clicks or timing. It's built on surrender, on wisdom, on a spirit-led process that may not be popular, but is undeniably powerful. That's why some doors didn't open, not because you weren't ready to walk through them, but because the weight you carry would have cracked the floor on the other side. Heaven is leading you to a structure worthy of your substance. Even now, the Most High is building beyond what you see. Heaven's architectural plans go farther than your 5-year goals. You're not building for comfort, you're building for continuity. This is not your season of delay. This is your era of construction. And when the structure is ready, you won't have to chase the moment. The moment will find the structure and recognize this is where it belongs. So breathe. Don't question the silence. Honor the process. Because the deeper the foundation, the higher the future. And what's being built in you now is not just for the applause of today, it's for the inheritance of tomorrow. You are not waiting for your name to be called. Heaven already called it. This is not the season to second-guess your identity. This is the moment you stop asking for confirmation and start walking as the confirmation. You were never meant to blend in, sit back, or merely survive. You are not just chosen, you are the one who carries the release. That shift you've been feeling deep in your spirit, that unexplainable stirring, isn't confusion, it's commissioning. This is the moment when God no longer just delivers you from something, He starts sending you into something, not to prove yourself, but to release what you've survived. You are not just the healed one. You are now the vessel through which healing will flow. What once disqualified you is now the very evidence that qualifies you. This is what makes the chosen ones different. They don't just carry stories of breakthrough, they become signals for others that breakthrough is possible. Not because they're perfect, but because they've been processed. Not because they're flawless, but because they've been faithful when no one was watching. Heaven is not proposing you, heaven is presenting you. You are not an idea, you are a living witness. You are not in the crowd, you are carrying the shift. And here's where many miss it. They think being chosen means a title or a spotlight. But the truth is, the most powerful anointings are quiet. They're carried in everyday obedience, small acts of faith, unspoken sacrifices. You were not rescued just to survive. You were rescued to liberate territory. Your healing was not just for you. Your deliverance was not just for your peace. God brought you through so that others could see that it's possible. That trauma doesn't get the final word. That generational patterns can be broken. That cycles do end. And now you don't just walk in freedom, you carry the keys. The Spirit of the Lord is saying, you are not waiting for access. You are the access point heaven built for others to enter. That's what happens when alignment meets authority. The people around you don't need another sermon. They need to encounter what it looks like when someone walks in quiet power, hidden integrity, and spiritual clarity. And that's what you've become. Let's make it plain. What was once hidden in you is about to be revealed through you. The waiting wasn't wasted. The crushing wasn't random. It formed a structure in you that now speaks louder than any words you could say. The architecture of your character is now a sanctuary others can walk through. Remember Moses, a man who once ran from his calling, stuttered in his speech, doubted his assignment. And yet, after encountering the burning bush, he didn't just become a man with a message, he became the message. His life became the evidence that God uses the broken, the afraid, the hidden, and turns them into deliverers. He didn't just tell Pharaoh to let the people go, he became the proof that God will raise a liberator from the wilderness. You've come through your own wilderness, but this time, you're not walking out with wounds, you're walking out with weight, with authority, with presence. You've become the answer heaven once whispered over your pain. Not because chaos disappeared, but because your spirit has anchored beyond it. Your inner posture has changed. Your ear is trained to the voice of God. Your spirit discerns what's real. And now, the evidence of what you carry isn't in your volume, it's in your consistency. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs presence. And when a chosen vessel enters a room, the atmosphere adjusts. Not because they demand it, but because they are aligned with heaven's rhythm. By the end of January, others may still be asking for signs, but you'll know you have become the sign. You are the living proof that it is possible to go through fire and not smell like smoke. You are the reason someone else will believe it's safe to try again, to rebuild, to trust God again. But here's the key. Carriers don't wait for stages. They sow in secret. They bless when no one is watching. They lay hands in prayer, not performance. They show up with oil even when the room has no spotlight. This is your next assignment. Not to be louder, but to be clearer. Not to be busier, but to be bolder. Not to convince people, but to carry presence in such a way that demons flee, heavy hearts lift, and spiritual chains break, not because of hype, but because of holy alignment. Hear this clearly, for heaven declares it now. You no longer echo the struggle, you embody the solution. You are the walking evidence that it can be done, that it's possible to start over, that it's real when someone says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." Philippians 1-6. God didn't rescue you so you could be admired. He rescued you so you could release others, families, territories, generations. And you won't have to strive to make it happen. Because the glory that rests on the truly sent ones doesn't need an announcement. It reveals itself in motion. You've entered that motion now, not waiting, not watching, but walking. So begin. Quietly, boldly, intentionally. This is your activation season, and heaven has already called your name. Everything you've walked through, every hidden battle, every unanswered prayer, every silent season where it felt like heaven was still, is not evidence of being forgotten, but proof of divine formation. You were never waiting in vain. You were in training, a secret spiritual training ground designed not for spectators, but for soldiers of purpose. And now, the moment that training was shaping you for has arrived. You were not shaped by applause. You were shaped by fire, refined in silence, tested in private. You didn't get here because you were celebrated. You got here because you were faithful when no one saw, when no one clapped, when everything inside you said quit, and yet you stayed. This is not the reward of popularity. This is the unveiling of endurance. What others see now is not a highlight, it's the fruit of 1,000 quiet surrenders. Heaven has spoken, and heaven will not repeat itself. The time for waiting is over. This is not the season of wondering, what if, or is this really it? You don't need another confirmation. What you need now is agreement, not with people, not with trends, but with destiny. Heaven is no longer offering suggestions, it has issued a declaration. And now, your role is to walk in sync with what's already been spoken over you. You are not on the sidelines of this story, you are the epicenter of the next spiritual release. The next wave of breakthrough is not coming from the clouds, it's coming from the way you walk, from how you show up to the ordinary, from how you speak in the small spaces. The atmosphere is waiting to respond to your agreement with the assignment, not with noise or performance, but with holy alignment. The shaking will not begin with a sound from heaven. It will begin with the first step of a chosen vessel who dares to move as if they are already carrying the release. That vessel is you. So what now? What does this look like in real life, where the dishes pile up, where bills still come, where people still misunderstand you? It looks like living with weight in ordinary moments. Pray before every decision, not because it's dramatic, but because you're a gatekeeper now. Bless someone anonymously every day this week. Leave encouragement, cover someone in prayer, or meet a quiet need, because chosen vessels move in quiet authority. Set aside one day this month to fast, not to earn answers, but to remind your soul it already carries them. Speak life in every conversation, even when it's inconvenient, because your words now carry creative weight. Clean your space, show up early, follow through. These may feel small, but they are sacred. They are movements of agreement, and heaven moves with those who move in rhythm. You don't need a stage. You don't need a mic. You're no longer knocking. You are what others knock on. You are the evidence. You are the divine trigger that tells others it's possible to rise. And this is your moment, not to wait for the release, but to become it. If this word has stirred something deep in your spirit, if you felt the weight of being set apart, the ache of hidden preparation, or the holy tension of carrying something too big for your current season, then don't rush away. Before you go, this moment must be sealed in prayer. This isn't just a prayer for comfort. It's a prayer for commissioning, for alignment, for bold agreement with what heaven has already declared over your life. So, wherever you are, quiet your spirit. Take a deep breath and receive. Father of glory, we come before you not as those begging for attention, but as those who have been known, formed, and called by you since before we ever had a name. Thank you for not rushing the process. Thank you for trusting us enough to train us in silence. Thank you for shaping us through the fire and not through the crowd. Today, we acknowledge what heaven has already spoken. This is the moment we were prepared for. Not a moment built on performance, but a moment rooted in obedience. Lord, we lay down every what if, every lingering doubt, every voice of delay that has tried to make us second guess what you've already declared finished. We surrender the need for more confirmation, and we pick up courageous agreement. You are not suggesting us, you are sending us. You are not rescuing us to sit, you are releasing us to walk. And so we say yes. We say yes to the hidden oil you've poured out in private. We say yes to becoming the evidence. We say yes to moving in the ordinary as vessels of extraordinary release. God, let our lives no longer be places of passive hope, but places of divine activation. Shift our perspective to see that we are no longer waiting for open doors, because you've made us into the door. Where we once waited for miracles, we now carry them. Where we once searched for answers, we now become living proof that you are faithful. For every person listening who has carried quiet burdens and unseen battles, Lord, remind them that none of it was wasted. Every moment in the wilderness was a building block. Every delay was a strengthening. Every betrayal was a divine excavation to remove what couldn't follow us into this next. We thank you that you don't build for popularity, you build for legacy. We thank you that we're not being delayed, we're being constructed for something that lasts beyond us. That what you are establishing through us will outlive applause and speak into generations we'll never see. So, Holy Spirit, lead us now, teach us how to walk differently, teach us how to live with weight. Give us discernment for the small decisions. Give us conviction in the silent spaces. Give us confidence without needing a stage. Make us sensitive to every place you want to pour out through us, even when no one is watching. Let kindness flow through our unseen gestures. Let wisdom rise in our daily speech. Let your presence sit so heavily on our lives that it speaks louder than anything we try to say. We don't ask for noise, we ask for impact. Let every step echo with the weight of your glory. We declare today, we are not just chosen, we are carriers of release. We are not waiting to be rescued. We have already been sent, and those called by heaven will not shrink from this assignment. We will build in rhythm. We will move in alignment. We will carry this mantle with reverence and joy. And above all, let our lives always point back to you. Let our strength point to your grace. Let our story reflect your glory. We are yours. In the name of Jesus, who sends, who saves, who seals, we pray. Amen. If this prayer resonated with you, if you felt something shift in your spirit, take a moment and reflect in the comments. Share what words stood out, or what part of your life you feel God is awakening again. Your journey could be the encouragement someone else is waiting to read. And if this word spoke to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next moment heaven is preparing to speak into your journey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end. Heaven sees your faithfulness, and trust this, the next release won't just touch your life, it will come through your life. Until next time, stay grounded, stay ready, and stay in alignment. Your time is not coming, your time is now.